do it. There we go. Okay. Good morning, all. We have quite a lot to share with you this morning, but let's start with a meditation and a peace practice. So I read to you from the Science of Mind in the meditations in the back of the book. And if you don't read them, if you don't flip to this part of the book, you're missing something sweet and wonderful. I can't recommend it enough. The voice of truth speaks to me and through me. The voice of truth guides me and keeps me on the path of the perfect day. I will listen to the inner voice and it will tell me what to do in the hour of need. I will be told everything that I ought to know when the time of need arrives, and I shall not be misled. The voice of truth cannot lie, but always speaks to me from on high. Nothing enters but this voice, for it is the voice of God. It is the voice of spirit. It is a voice of life. It is the voice of love. It is the voice of energy by any term. So please let us do what we do together so well, which is dip into the silence, to take responsibility for our reality right now, to remember that we are responsible for our peace, for our reality. And as we begin to cultivate that feeling inside right now, I invite you to bring somebody into that feeling for you right now. Someone, though, you could bring in loved ones. That's great. But I invite you to bring in the people who challenge you, who irk you. And sit quietly with them in that place of peace. Sit quietly as the feeling expands. And just sit with those individuals who are your spiritual practice. And bring love and compassion into this peace practice. Because I believe in who you are and the ability that you have to bring peace into the world, I invite you right now to remember your place of power. So as we allow that feeling to continue to grow inside of us, take a nice exaggerated breath, and on the exhalation, let that feeling expand. You are never at the mercy of what was. Most specifically, especially when you're conscious. Let us be conscious beings, bringing peace everywhere. So repeat after me, if you will. I am the peace I wish to see. I know this peace for my family. I know this peace for my community. My community, the CSL North Jersey community, knows this peace for the world. And so it is. So thank you for that. And you're going to get a spontaneous talk from me today because I'm going to be completely naked, metaphorically speaking. The other would be scary. That'd be a whole different kind of service. Wouldn't that be interesting? And yet, who cares, right? It's body. Who cares? It's body. Fat or thin or beautiful or pimpled. Like, who cares? Why do we make it mean so much? And I got a story about that too. But I did not know I was speaking this morning. I looked at the calendar and totally was convinced it was Joel. So what you're getting from me now is from my toes up. But you know what? I realized in the couple of minutes of making that error, I already got what needed to be said for me. And I want you to notice, if you look down at the bottom of your page here, you'll see that there's 19, well, now there's 20 participants. And so I'm going to talk to you about my life right now. I'm going to start with a story, something that happened to me on Friday, and then I'm going to talk to you about my experience as a minister, what's going on. And I'm not going to pretend that anything is other than what it is. Good? Can you live with me with that? See, that's what I love about this community. I believe that you mean that. I actually believe that. So Friday, I'm babysitting. My daughter-in-law needed help for the month of September to babysit 2 days a week. For most of the weeks, I'm going away the last week. So on Fridays, on Thursdays and Fridays, I go there and send the older ones off to school and then stay with the little one. Except for this past week, my beloved little William, he was sick, so I had 2 of them all day, and it was great. It's a great experience. Oh my God. My granddaughter is the easiest of my grandchildren. I should be paying her to let me babysit her child. But that's not what we're on about. In the middle of feeding the breakfast that morning, my front cap fell out. You ever have that happen? Maybe you don't have caps. I want to tell you, as much as I might want to laugh about it, I'm telling you the truth. I was devastated. I was horrified, and I went into immediate embarrassment and shame. Now, my grandchildren didn't. Frank and Antonia, can you hear me? Did you hear what I said? They're looking at each other. Okay. So I was able to pop it back in, but this cold for me to have to suddenly call, which I couldn't do to the end of the babysitting day because, I'm babysitting and they have terrible reception over there anyway for phone. The gut feeling of shame in my body, I could cry now telling you about it. And so I'm sharing this with you because I'm convinced that often we carry these feelings, we cover them up, we mask over them, and we push them down as deep as we can. Because the reality of living it and feeling it is so painful. Now, you might not have ever had this experience. You might not know the experience of having a bad mouth. But my mother and father, now remember, I'm 65 now. My mother had me when she was 43, so they were quite older when I came along. My father eventually got dentures on the top of his mouth. My mother hated and was terrified of the dentist so much that she wouldn't go to the dentist, so she could never smile with her mouth open. And so she had all this shame. Sometimes, I mean, there are times I wonder, did she drink as much as she did to get away from the pain, to get away from the shame, to get away from all those things? So they had horrible, horrible dental reality. We had horrible habits. All of my siblings, I am the only sibling who has real teeth in her mouth, and some of them are capped and a bridge. So I know that metaphysically speaking, they say that bad teeth have to do with self-hatred, which is a kind of heavy hit, right? because I don't believe in myself right now as someone who has hatred, although I'm living a life. This end result is something I've been living for decades. It's not like it just came upon me. But I was devastated. And I thought, oh my God, I've done all this work. How could I be devastated? How could I not rise above this experience? But that's because it was so deep and so guttural. It was trained into me. So call the insurance companies, trying to find a dentist. By the time I started making my calls, by the time I got the information, it was almost 4 p.m. Nobody's open at that point, or nobody has an appointment. And finally, I left one message, sent an email, and they could only see me the next day at a time when I already had an appointment. So they said, but we could see you on Monday. And I thought, oh, Lord, have mercy. I have company coming to my house today. I was going to have to cancel company. Now, the tooth, I could stick it in, but it wouldn't stay in. So I was going to alter my experience. I could barely talk to people because of how it was. This was devastating. And yet somehow in the middle of that experience, I was standing right here in my kitchen, actually, right the spot. Maybe this is a good wisdom spot for me. And I thought to myself, something's going to work out. I reminded myself to trust. And sure enough, the dentist's wife called me and said to me, I just saw your face, Beth, and said to me, we don't want you to go through the whole weekend like that. Come on in tomorrow. And they made a time, they made room for me. So I have this experience of, this horrible experience, but I also then had this little miracle. Now, I did not feel worthy of that miracle in that moment because I was so thrown off. But the fact is, the miracles I'm going to call it a miracle. You might not. I'm going to call it a little mini miracle because they told me no and everybody else was telling me no. But here's the thing. The miracles that do happen in our lives don't happen because of what you've done on the spot. It's what you have been doing all along. See, that when your world works out on this day, September 18th, 2022, it works out not because, oh, I was a good girl on the 17th or the 16th. It's because I've been doing my work all along. So when we do our work, and the work I'm referring to is spiritual practices, being in community, forgiveness work, that has a lot, that that's big for me. And so it meant that I had cultivated enough of a sense of worthiness, enough of a sense of aligning and living in right relationship with life. It didn't have to be the day before or the moment before. Sometimes there's grace, and I call it a miracle, but I think it was a moment of grace. It was a moment of grace. I needed that in that moment. There's stories I want to tell you. I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm so tired of being on Zoom or being on Zoom only. I love you all, and I'm glad we have it. I'm glad for Dawn Lee. I'm glad for Frank and Antonia. I'm glad for those who can't come otherwise. I'm having a rough time with it, folks. Because the part of me that makes me me is someone who wants to touch people and hug people and be present to people in a way that's up close and personal. Even though I'm successful with it when I teach classes, I somehow manage to cultivate that feeling. But the number, look down at the number 22, and I have two computers open. Actually, I'm going to close one of them. That number is too damn low. Now, let me tell you something. The world today, the young adults, let's say young adults, and the young adults who still want to be younger, but the ones who are getting up in their 30s, like, they're not quite the young adults anymore. They're a little bit older, a little bit more mature, but they are satisfied in life with things that are simple. They find profound satisfaction with nature, with being in service, with doing something that's positive, with spending money in the right place, with not letting corporations have their way. So they have a different reality and connection to the world than we do. It's different. It's completely different. And yet what I know is a lot of the individuals that I talk to, that I watch on Facebook, that I communicate through email, some of them just haven't had a bump in the road yet. And it's not until you've had a real bump in the road that you realize how much you need community, spirituality, practice. It's often not till then. Before that, it's like, oh yeah, God is good. Let's wake up in the morning. Let's go for a walk. Want to go hiking? Oh yeah, let's pick up this garbage off the ground. That's great stuff. But there is something that happens when you hit a bump in the road where you go, oh, holy crap. What do I do now? And so for me, what happens in that is that this community, yes, that bump is when our faith is tested. I agree with you, Ty. So what happens is, I know that I have resources. You know you have resources. You know that you can get quiet or you can talk to somebody, and because hopefully I've taught well enough after all these years, to talk to the right person and not talk to somebody who's going to reflect back to you your oh, ain't it awfuls. To talk to somebody who's faithful, who's peaceful, who will see through your problem so that they help you see through to solution. That you can call somebody, that you can find acceptance and love and compassion within this community. Although we might not all be practicing it all the time, that the conversation we have around here around non-gossip and non-judgment and non-complaining, at least is aware, we're aware of it. And I know about taking responsibility for our lives. I had a student who recently took a forgiveness class, and at the end of every class, I'll always ask them, what pearls of wisdom do you come away with? And the one young woman, and I was so happy because I felt like it was the first time that someone had verbalized it in this way. One of the main things I teach in my classes is self-responsibility, not blame. Self-responsibility, because the self-responsibility aligns me with the presence and the power of the one through me. And then that alignment empowers me. That's what sets me up to be able to say, oh, something will work out. And then I get a phone call. That all that pre-work is what aligned Neil and I to be available for buying a house at a price that is unheard of. All of these things, all of the work that happens in the practices that we know sets us up to live a glorious life. And that's after we've had bumps in the road, because I've had bumps, man. I've had hurdles. I've had some mini mountains. My life has not been fun. And I've said this and I say this, and I think sometimes that people think yes, that's right. Victimhood, not for me. And I think that people laugh and they think, oh, Reverend Michelle's being cute. I'm telling you, I might have a ways to go, but my life, I was one step above white trash when I grew up. We're talking a lack of education, a lack of emotional stability from within my family, a lack of understanding. And the only reason why I can stand here, the only reason is consciousness. It's recognizing the presence of God. And today I'm going to say God, recognizing the presence of God as me, as the one and only power. And so this is what has lifted me out of the conditions of my life that was really dismal. It was dismal. Sometimes I have to look around and pinch myself and realize, whew, wow, I live good. My life is good. Not easy, but good. And so so the title of the talk today, You're Not Heavy, You're My Brother or Sister, or something like that. I am a believer in loving each other. I am a believer in giving a hand. I am a believer in calling people. I am a believer in sending cards and notes and texts, because this might be old fashioned, and that, I don't know, maybe a therapist would accuse me of being codependent. But I say, bah humbug, because I think we all need to be seen. We need to be seen. We need to be loved. A couple of weeks ago, we've had some community members going through some rough stuff. And I watch as other members respond. I watch as people are willing to pray or make food for, and thank you to those of you who recently said yes to the individual who did need some food. One day I think I mentioned this to you a week ago, I'm on the phone with one person, then dropping off flowers at someone's house. And I share that with you because that feeling of being in service to individuals is the feeling of community and brotherhood and sisterhood that I believe is what is missing in a world where young people don't think they need a spiritual connection to anything. We have cultivated a spiritual connection. When we were having those meetings in person, we have 3 meetings in a row. Oh, the love in the room. The love in the room. You could feel the love in the room. It was beautiful. I don't think you should be here any longer for your purpose. I think you should be here for the person who's not here yet. I believe in the whole, the culture of 12 steps, where they stay coming into the rooms, as they refer to it, for the people who are new. We have 22 people plugged in right now. Who have you invited recently? Not because it's about the center, not because it builds up someone's ego, but there are people who need what you and I have. Even with those of you who don't come all the time, you have a place to go. Ty and Clive recently came to my house to do music 2 times. Even the feeling of having them in my home was amazing. Who have you invited? Whose life have you touched? Because your brother and your sister might not be heavy, but they do need a hand. They need a hand. I know I sound like a hippie. I know I do. But the science of mind has, and prayer, I gotta say, science of mind and prayer has saved my life. Because I was trudging along and kind of slowly moving out of the life that I have, but it wasn't until science of mind that I activated something greater in me. want to tell a story again that I've told. It was in a blog recently. 19 years ago, Joe Schneider, I don't know if you were on the board at that time, probably. My guess is probably. A bunch of us, where did Joe go? He was just here. Oh, there you are. Okay. And the whole board wound up going to Asilomar. And if you don't know it, Asilomar used to be our yearly pilgrimage to the coast of California in this place called Asilomar. It was in Pacific Grove. Oh my God. And we were all there, and it was amazing to have the entire board there. One of my board members, Steve Worthing, many of you still know Steve or you know who I'm talking about. He was there, and he was there with Denise, and a whole bunch of us had gone off to the aquarium. I had Seth with me at the time. Seth was 5. Now I realize the timing. He was 5, so he wasn't a little tyke. He was a 5-year-old tyke. And we come home from the aquarium, and I get off the bus, and Seth has fallen out cold asleep on the bus. I'm like, oh my God. So now I have to pick him up, because where the bus dropped us off, I had to walk up a little hill to get to my room. He's 5. I'm strong. I'm much stronger than I was then. I mean, I was much stronger then than I am now, but he's still a 5-year-old kid. So I think to myself, there's nothing I can do. And I remembered those words. He's not heavy. God has this for me. God carries him for me. And I scooped him up, and I got him wrapped over my body. He was out cold. He was so tired, the poor baby. And I'm carrying him, and I take a couple steps, and I'm just affirming, God's got this, God's got this, God's got this. When I feel a tap on my shoulder, and it was Steve. He noticed my struggle. And I turned around, and he looked, he says, let me help. That is living in a right relationship with spirit. That is what happens when we bless our food, or if you have to take medication, when you bless the medication that you take. Be in right relationship. This is how life shows up for us in these many miracles, or these brilliant moments. It happens because all along we've cultivated faith, and we've cultivated practice. I don't think I will ever I will always, let me say it that way, I'll say it in an affirmative way. I will always believe that I'm here to serve. I will always believe that I'm here to serve. So one of the sad things for me is that, and as I say this, I'm going to say this to you as an invitation. Our outreach team has dwindled. Our enrich team is not happening. We need these teams. And if you feel like you would like to serve, not just serve, take on the responsibility of representing this center in the world, I invite you to do so. Because our brothers and sisters, those we know and those we don't know, will benefit from you being a presence in their life. Go inside for a moment, if you will. And let yourself think about all the people who have touched your life within this community all these years. Feel that love and gratitude. Those who have called you, those you used to speak with, those you sit and pray with, those who made coffee, those who served coffee, those who swept, those who took care of our children, those who welcomed you, all the individuals. Think of all the moments of pure, generous love. And let yourself wonder, what is mine to do? How can I return the generosity of this community and expand upon it? Because when we ponder that and we let that feeling rise up and expand within us, we are enriched. This morning, when I discovered that I was supposed to be delivering the talk, it was Reverend Wadleigh, Reverend Evelyn, and Tyra on the phone, and they didn't skip a beat. They looked at me and they said, "You got this." A community that loves each other, and a community that demonstrates that love is a healthy community, even with these few people on the phone. But I am telling you, it is your job. It is not my job or the job of Reverend Joel or Reverend Neil. And God bless my husband. God bless my husband for all that he does holding this community together. And if you don't know it, please hear it now. He does more behind the scenes than I could possibly enumerate for you right now. God bless these people. But it's not the job of the ministers to grow the community. Our job is to stay inspiring you. Your job is to invite others in, not because they have to be saved. See, that's the beauty of this teaching. We were born saved, born whole, born perfect. Oh, but so much of the world does not know that. You and I have to be the ministers. You are each a minister. It's saying the right thing. It's speaking the right words. It is looking at someone and saying, "You got this. You got this." And the science of my teaching is brilliant for this purpose. And you are perfectly positioned to be the one that makes a difference. You're perfectly positioned. You must believe in that presence as you. So let me know what comes up for you. Let me know what you feel called to do. Let me know if you feel inspired, and I will get behind you 100%. So join me as we each embrace our personal power. I am hearing, knowing, and recognizing that there is a power, a presence, a love, a glorious essence of energy, an invitation to live in right relationship with spirit, to walk in relationship with kindness and compassion and love and forgiveness. Let us walk in right relationship with the values that we say we value. Diversity, love, prosperity, generosity. Let us be the demonstrators of this. And I declare for each one listening that every moment that you breathe within this teaching, you are lifted to higher ground. You are of a greater influence every moment of every day because you breathe the breath of life. This breath is the same breath breathed by Gandhi, by Jesus, by Martin Luther King, by Mother Teresa. It's that same eternal breath of life, and it is stunning. Take no breath for granted, folks. Take no moment of health for granted. Let us live in a way that spirit, God, life, love, nature, whatever word you use, recognizes us, lifts us, pulls us up sometimes. And let us live in the gratitude for this reality. I am so grateful for this. I am grateful on behalf of everyone listening. This is a glorious life to live. Thank you. Thank you to the indwelling intelligence. And so it is. Oh.
I was explaining this song this morning to Dawn Lee. It's a song from my favorite singer probably in the world, Donny Hathaway. And